Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Jon Witt, and this is my son Noah. And so it's a base level class to help you get started with your yoga. I do mobility work as well to help strengthen the joints and also to loosen the tissues around the joints, which will help with your yoga or your movements. If you have ever any questions, you can always reach out to me and I can help you more in terms of like knowing exactly what it is that you need. A video is really the best way to help someone. So if there was something that you're really struggling with, you could always send me a video and I could help you that way. So the class is going to be starting on our feet. So you don't need a lot of equipment. I'm going to use a wall at some point. You could use the inside of a door. And these are the techniques that I've used for years and years of teaching. And it's something that I use in terms of I'm doing a training in February with the Prema Yoga Institute. It's an essential therapeutic training. So it's to help therapists and yoga teachers work more on the therapeutic level of teaching people in groups and privately. So if you'd like to take that course, all the information's on my website, and it's also at Prema Yoga Institute. So that's a great 100-hour course, but we've also divided it where you could also just take like a couple weekends, more specific for what you need, or if you don't have the time to do the full 100 hours, you could take some of it. It's a really good course. I've learned so much in teaching it, so maybe that's something that you'd like to take. All right, so on starting, I'm going to have my left foot where it's flat, and I'm just going to be circling the foot and the ankle. So I'm moving the foot and moving the lower body, you'll get more and more mobile in the upper body. So it's just, at first, you might find that things are a little bit stiff and they don't move as well. So this is a very good thing to start with in terms of getting your feet to move better, especially if you have a hard time on the floor or squatting. And then I'm going to go over into the right foot. So I'm circling out. And when you're doing something like this, I'm just scraping the surface. So a good thing to start with would be 60 seconds. 120 seconds is what you could kind of work up into. And then over time, you'll find that things move a little bit better, things are stronger, they're more integrated, and then they'll help in other areas of the body. Like when I'm doing this, I feel it more in my hips. So I'm going to go over into the left foot again, but now I'm circling in. And with these, it's very easy to be distracted. So once your mind is drifting and you're doing other things in terms of your thoughts, it's not a bad thing, but that's really when you're wanting to tune in a little bit more. So these are subtle things, but let's say you don't walk very well, a very simple task. But if you get things like your ankles and your knees and your hips to move better, you'll have better function in walking. So I'm going to go back into the right foot, and then I'm circling in, right? And you might feel some clicking or popping, right? It's nothing to be concerned with unless something is bothering you or irritating you. So if it's increasing inflammation, it's something that I wouldn't use just yet. You could hold like a static hold in various ways with the foot. So then I'm just going to come where my hands are behind me and I'm hooking my thumbs and I'm broadening my shoulders, and I'm going to lift my heels off the floor. And if I'm stable, I'm going to look over my right shoulder, but I want to keep my ribs from not turning. Right? It's very easy to just turn the torso. So I want to keep my left shoulder back, and then I'm going to turn forward, and then I'm going to look over my left shoulder. And the same thing is true, often people will turn the torso, and it shows that they don't have the flexibility in the neck. So then I'm going to lower the heels. So I'm just moving my body to the left side just to stretch out the right. Something very basic. So I'm going to do other motions of the rib cage. So if it's really difficult for you to do, this is probably going to be easier than what I'll be doing next. So I'm going to come up and then side bend to the right, and then the whole left side's picking up. You could let the head tilt. I'm keeping the head neutral. It's good to do it differently, and it'll give you more accuracy in terms of how you're moving, because if you always do it the same way, it becomes a pattern. Whether it's good or bad, it becomes a pattern. And then you can bring yourself up, and then when you come on, I'm going to do it with the head now. So I'm going to let the head tilt to the left shoulder to expose the neck, right, and the shoulder here. And then I'm going to lift the head, and then I'm going to move the head to the right. So I'm doing these really slow, relatively slow, but then you can eventually add motion, which can be really nice. And often a faster motion is kind of viewed as negative, but it can actually be very good for you. So then I'm gonna pick the head up. So I'm gonna do the side tilts for the rib cage, but if it's again irritating, just hold static holds, right? So I'm gonna go to the right just for a few seconds, and then I'm gonna come up, and then I'm gonna go to the right side. And like I said, it's very easy to just like, oh, I'm gonna whip myself over, and that's something that I would stop myself from doing. So bring yourself up. We're gonna go to the left again, and then going up to the right, and then bringing yourself back up. Now I'm going to move just my rib cage laterally. So I'm gliding the rib cage. So just moving the ribs. Try not to move your lower body. Try not to move your head. So you're just moving your ribs in space. And then as you're moving your ribs, right, it'll help with twisting, extending, lots of different things in terms of movement. And then I'm going to come back in the middle, and what I'm going to do is having my hand underneath my chin and my chest, just going to extend my thoracic. So I'm bringing it up. So I'm extending, not lifting the head, I'm just lifting the torso. And then I'm going to round, and by rounding my back, I don't want to feel it at all in my lower back. I'm just rounding the upper back. And then I'm going to bring myself up. And then as I go up in space, I'm really trying to extend through the thoracic spine. I'm going to round again. Just going to do a few of these, but when I do them for many, many minutes. You can bring yourself back up. So you might actually crack or pop, and then you can come back to neutral. So I'm going to do some things in terms of the legs. So you just need a little bit of space. You might need a wall. And then what I'm going to do, just so that I'm not hitting Noah, I'm just going to swing my leg in space. So with the leg and moving, you might find that the hip doesn't move, so you have to hinge from the knee. So if I'm hinging from the knee, right, if I'm moving my leg where my knee is moving, it's just a sign that your hip isn't mobile, right? It's just stiff. So you're just swinging your leg in space. And then I'm going to bring my left foot down, and then I'm bringing my right leg forward through, just as if you were kicking a ball, right? But in moving the leg, what you'll notice is that it's moving the tissues of the upper body. Like a good masseuse, like someone that's going to move you around, is going to manipulate your legs to manipulate the upper body and the spine. And then I'm just going to bring that leg down. Now, I'm balancing on my right foot, and I'm going to draw an oval with my left leg. So just moving my left leg around in space. That's easy enough for you. What I'm going to do is rotate my foot out and rotate it in. So I'm moving my leg as if I was moving through water. And then by moving the leg, the way that I'm doing it, it'll add a little bit of strength, but more so it will loosen the tissues around the pelvis. So if they're really tight, it's going to be hard to do more complex things. This is, just to get you moving better. Then I'm going to bring my left foot down, and then same thing, I'm just going to circle the leg, which is going to be easier than moving the thigh in rotation. So you could circle in the opposite direction. And say that you were like, oh, that forward and back motion was actually better for me. You could stick with that. So I'm rotating in or out and then in. And I'm elevating the leg when I need it, or if it's just, there's no wrong way of doing this. It's just getting the leg to move more diversely, and that's what will help in changing the body globally. So these are smaller motions which will lead to you standing, walking, sitting better. And then I'm going to take that right foot down. So just take the feet out a little bit wider than, say, your shoulders, turn your feet out. You can take your arms out wide. I'm having my thumbs rotated up, and I'm rotating my thumbs back, and I'm pushing my legs apart. And I'm just gonna sit, nothing crazy low, but I'm sitting, if I can, to the height of my knees, and I'm bringing my tailbone underneath me so that I'm not using my lower back to be in this position, right? I want to be more neutral. And then I'm going to come up, and then when I come up, I'm going to rotate the thumbs down and forward. So I'm rotating my shoulders predominantly. So if you feel it in your wrists or your elbows, try to move more from your shoulders. Then taking the thumbs up, I'm going to squat again. I'm pushing my thighs apart, getting more space into my chest and my shoulders, and then I'm bringing my tailbone down. So I'm moving it down in space. So then as I move it down, I want to be lifting through the top of my head. I'm rotating my thumbs back for external rotation of the shoulders. Then I'm going to come up where my legs are straight, and then I'm going to rotate down and in. So moving, rotating the shoulders forward, which is viewed as not good for your shoulders, but it's actually very good for the shoulders. Then I'm rotating up, rotating back, and then I'm squatting again. So when you're in a horse stance, again, try to bring the tailbone down, push the thighs apart more, lean into your strong leg when you can't go into your weak leg, but try to get your weak leg to be stronger. And then you can bring yourself back up, and you can bring the arms down. So I'm just gonna have my arms beside me. I'm gonna step in, and I'm just gonna shake my arms out a little bit. I'm actually gonna shake a bit. So by bending the knees and just shaking the body, you're a very physical person, you lift weights, you rock climb, right? You run, things get stiff. So this is probably the easiest way. It looks strange, but it's actually really, really good for the body. It's just, from Qigong. So I'm bringing the weight into the heels, and I'm just letting my arms shake. Now, if you're just starting this, don't bounce so heavily. If you've done this before, you can increase the bouncing. You can move the head to one side, get the neck to shake out, or the tissues around the neck and in the shoulder, and then bringing the head to the other side. You want to keep the head neutral. That's completely up to you. So I'm just, I'm not going to do this too long, but it's great, when I do it, not that you have to do it as long as I do. I'll do it for 5-10 minutes sometimes longer. And then I'm coming back up. So I'm going to move the arms in space. I'm just swinging the arm, where I'm swinging my arm back and forth. And this is probably, not obviously the biggest range of motion, but as it gets easier, then we can do it more. So just moving, transferring the weight from one foot to the other. So let's say we did this for a long period of time. It really is, I'm not so much swinging from my arm, I'm really moving my arm from my lower body. Just like a baseball player or a golfer, they're generating the motion from the lower body, not so much from the upper body. Some of it is from the upper body, of course. And I'm going to bring my right arm down. I'm just going to switch my stance, and then bringing my left arm forward and back. So it's we'll all move better from one side, right? But it's good to move your body eclectically, diversely, and what works or what has worked for a while is it's good to change it up. So we could just statically stretch out the arm and the shoulder, which helps, but moving it in space can be really, really beneficial. That's why I'm doing it. And then I'm going to bring it back in the middle. Now, you don't have to do a full range of motion, but if you want to do a second set, swinging the arm. But I'm going to swing my arm in a circular motion. And notice when I'm swinging it back, my torso's turning. So just like walking, your upper body's going to move as you're walking through space. And then for time efficiency, I'm going to swing it forward, just so that we're not changing our feet so much. So I'm just now it's going back and then it's turning forward, just as if you were hitting a volleyball or a tennis ball. And then I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to switch over to the other side. And then as I'm switching the other side, I'm going to full range of motion. So if you have a tear in your shoulder, you could still do these, but you'd want to be really careful, you know? But again, there's no really optimal speed, you know, just one speed. So start out slow, right? And then as it gets easier, you know, then you could increase the speed if you'd like. So I'm just going to move it around a little bit more. And then I'm going to drop it down and I'm going to come forward. So forward motion. So if you're right-handed, this can be really foreign because, you know, how much have you really thrown with your left arm? Probably not very much. And that's a good thing to, you know, just get a tennis ball and throw it up against the wall just with your left side. And that's very good for the left arm, but it's really good for the opposing leg, the right leg. So if you're right-handed, your left leg is actually stronger than your right in some ways. And then you can bring it down. So just shaking the arms out. So take your feet out into a wide stance. I'm just going to do some classic positions. And maybe you can see the difference in how they work in just what we've used from the start of the class. So my back foot's turned in a little bit. My right foot's turned out. I'm going to take the arms out. I'm going to turn the palms up. I'm sitting into the pose. And as I sit into Warrior Two, my pelvis is turning towards the back foot and my upper body's turning to the right. But as you're here, right, palms could face up, they could be down. Just to get the legs a little bit more work, I'm going to have the right leg straight and then I'm going to bend the knee. So, you know, if you're more used to static holds, it's good to move. You know, if you're just getting into yoga, static holds are really, really beneficial. But if you always do it like statically, at some point your body kind of gets really smart to that, and it actually gets like efficient. So I'm going to straighten the right leg out one more time, and then I'm going to go back to bending the knee. Now, as you do this, as it gets easier, then the stance can be longer. I'm going to bring my right forearm on my right thigh. My left hand is on my hip. You could certainly reach lower if that's possible for you. I could be sitting in a chair. You know, I don't have to be freestanding. I could be up against a wall. So I'm going to take the left arm up to the ceiling, and then I'm going to take it forward in space. Now I could look to the hand, the finger. I could bring it back up. So I'm going to reach down for my left thigh, or my left foot, and bring it back up, and then taking it forward. So keep the belly, keep the ribs in, then taking the left arm up, bringing yourself up, turning your right foot in, turning your left foot out, taking the arms wide, and then bending the left knee. And just like in the horse stance, try to get the tailbone to move down. Palms can, you know, face up. So I'm pushing my thighs apart. Again, it's good to sit low, you know, but if you sit to a level where you feel stuck, I bring it up just a little bit more, and then you'll be able to go further. Say you want to work on more like expanding your range of motion. It's not wrong. You could certainly do that in these positions. So I'm going to have the left leg straight, get really tall through the upper body, and then I'm going to go back to bending the left knee. And again, I'm turning towards the front hand, but I could certainly be turning back towards the back. You know, I'm right-handed, so actually twisting in my right is way more challenging for myself. I'm going to have the left leg straight. I'm extending, pushing through the feet. Legs are strong. Yet anything going on with your knees, this could be the pose. You know, this could be good for you, very good for you. I'm going to go back to bending the left knee and pushing the thighs apart, and then taking the left forearm on the left thigh. My right hand is on my hip. I'm turning. So eventually it could look like you're up against a wall, right? And that could be very, very beneficial in terms of your alignment. So I'm taking the right arm up, could keep it here. I'm going to bring it forward in space. As I'm bringing it forward, I'm keeping the front of my body hollowed, like a handstand, like a headstand. Taking the right arm up, reaching back for the right foot or the right thigh. then taking it up again and bringing it forward. So like classic yoga, you're holding things for a good amount of time. Maybe it's too long, right? You come out, take the right arm up, bring yourself up, and bringing your arms down. So I'm going to have both feet turned in. Just going to come forward halfway. I'm not coming all the way down. And it's all about the hamstrings then. So it's good to come down and touch the floor, right? Those are great things to do. I'm just going to focus more on the hamstrings. So I'm coming forward. I'm in an anterior tilt of the pelvis. And then as I'm forward, I'm trying to extend my head forward in space. And then as I'm expanding forward in space, I'm trying to bring more weight into the interior of my feet. You know, you could look at your feet, you can see what they do. You can see if one foot's more forward than the other. Not like critical, but it has its effects in terms of why the pelvis might be a little crooked. So take a couple deep breaths here. And then bringing yourself back up to standing. And then you can toe heel the feet in a little bit closer. And then I'm going to step my feet back into the middle. In closing, this will be for hip compression, which could be done in a chair or sitting. I'll be doing it standing. I could hold the wall if I don't have balance or if I just want to focus more on creating the compression. So I'm taking my left leg up. My left hand is just above the knee. So it's giving me a marker as far as how much to lift the leg. So it's to help with end range of motion. So if you really lack hip compression, it's more difficult to fold in half. It's more difficult to take your legs overhead and say like a plow position or into like shoulder stand. So these are very good for all forward bends. So I'm taking it out to the left. What I would do is I'd find a weak angle and focus on getting the leg into being stronger. I'm pulling up here, so this is more passive flexibility, which is very good in using as well. You know, it doesn't have to be all active. Switching over to the right side, I would work on my deficient side first, and then I could always work on more of the deficiency. So again, my hand's just above my knee and I'm trying to lift it up. I'm taking it out. So this is a short video in terms of helping you in mobilizing the upper and the lower body. I hope it's helped. You can always leave a comment. You can let me know how it's going. You can like, subscribe. Please share it with friends, family. It helps my cause. Have a great day, and hopefully my practices are helping you better your practice.